Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Dallas, and I am here initiating the Edcamp Home 3.0 chat for the Share Fair and Learning Fair, where we're
Oh,
each going to go through and share a couple of our different favorite activities and lessons in our classrooms that we do throughout the year. So I'm going to start with myself. I'm Dallas. I teach up in New Westminster in an alternate education school for grade 10 to grade 12 with a predominant background in the sciences and the math. And I'm going to start off by introducing Laura. How's it
I'm
going, Laura?
It's
hello,
good.
Laura.
I'm in Hi, it's nice to see all of you. I am Laura Robertson from Charlottesville, Virginia, and I have three of my four kids home with me tonight, so I'm hoping they're going to stay quiet. I am the humanities chair at an independent school, and we've just moved to humanities, and I'm an American Studies teacher, so I team teach an 11th grade course. And I'm so psyched to be with you. I've been at every EdCamp home, and it's been amazing.
Awesome, it's my first, so you can teach me along the way.
Oh, well.
And then up next I have Matthew.
Hello, I'm Matthew. I teach at a school in Washington, D.C. We're allowed to say what school we teach at? Is that
Yeah,
what's
go
the
for
problem
it.
with that?
Throw
I
the
teach at the
plug.
Lab School of Washington. Charlottesville is Laura. I
Yes,
know what private school do you teach at? I'm just curious.
I teach at St. Anne's Belfield.
Oh, sure. That sounds great. Are we just doing introductions? Is that all we're doing now? We're not sharing the.
No, no, just introductions, who we are.
Oh, okay, sure. Yeah, so I'm like the movie guy at my school. So I do like multimedia and stuff. It's
Cool.
great to be here. It's my first like real hangout. I've been done to three ed camps, like the real live ones, the Edcamp DCs, but I've never
Yeah,
done the Edcamp home before. So this is really exciting. So thanks for having me.
awesome. There's a couple of newbies then. And then last but not least, we have Michelle.
Yeah, and I apologize for not having the lower third. That really bothers me. I'm Michelle. I'm from the thumb of Michigan. Part of the reason that I am having some technical difficulties is I'm off the beaten path, and so spent some time with AT&T today saying, hey, I have horrible internet, and they said you are just above dial-up. So that just says a little bit about where I am. This is my third EdCamp home, and I am just ecstatic that I can be a part of this. I teach high school English. I teach usually 10th and 12th grade in AP English literature. And then this year I signed up to be the technology coordinator through our school, so I'm a trig coach in Michigan. So that's a little bit about me.
Awesome, thanks.
Yep.
Do any of you want to start off with sharing a couple of your ideas for what you like to do and what your favorite lessons or activities are in classes?
Sure, I will.
Awesome.
I actually, as if you saw me walking, I actually went and got some of my props that I have for my lesson.
Nice.
I actually was in a Warrior Dash. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Warrior Dashes, where you run a 5K and you do obstacle courses and you get really muddy and nasty, and so you get this like Viking helmet. And I teach Beowulf to my AP students, and so once we've read Beowulf, I have them do an assignment where they have to create a Beowulf boast, but it has to be about themselves. And then we sit and put all of our desks together and we cover them with black paper, and then the kid who is up that's boasting has to sit around this mead table in this mead hall, and we have apple juice that looks like mead, and the kids have to like chant and scream and holler, and whoever's speaking has to wear this Viking helmet, and they have to give their Beowulf boast, which is very fun. The kids are a nervous wreck because they don't like to do the public speaking part and they hate to brag about themselves, but it is a lot of fun for me as a teacher, and I've recorded it for years. Eventually I have to get those recordings together and put that out there because it's just too much fun.
Awesome, that sounds like a good time.
It is.
Does anyone else want to share? Because then we can kind of go through and add some question and answers afterwards.
Yeah, I think like it's nice to have some humanities teachers here, but one of the things that I like to use the most is the Right Question Institute's kind of question asking pedagogy. It's basically a way to get kids to ask what they would say are the right questions. And it's a really great way to start off any kind of discussion. And you start off with getting kids to generate a list of questions, and everything they say has to be in question form, which they feel like is really silly to begin with, but actually they get into it. And so they start out, they list a bunch of questions, then they go back through and they pick kind of like the top 5 questions that they think are the most important, and they differentiate between close-ended and open-ended questions. They turn a couple of close-ended questions, you know, like yes or no questions, into open-ended questions, and then vice versa. And then they kind of boil them down into like 2 or 3 questions, and they use those questions as the basis to ask more questions. And then at the end, they kind of pick the top 2 or 3, and those usually are like their best questions. And mainly, you give them the structure is really great, and I'll put the link in the comment feed. But it's an awesome activity for anybody, and they use it in communities. It's not just for teachers. They also use it in communities to get kind of underrepresented populations to ask their representatives kind of the kind of questions that they need to ask them. So it's an awesome organization. They do a lot of stuff for teachers, and that's one of my favorites.
Sorry, what was the organization name?
It's called the Right Question Institute, and I will link it. I'm just hoping that my internet doesn't die. I'm not in the thumb of Michigan. I am just in an old house.
I know what that one's like. Me too. Matthew, do you have any activities you wanted to share, or?
Sure. Yeah. This is kind of not like an in-class activity, but we're in summer school right now, and my wife and I actually teach a 3-week summer school class. Actually, it ends tomorrow. And it's really, really cool. She built the thing. I'm just the tech monkey. Like, she actually built the thing. But it's beautiful what she built. And she's in the other room, so I don't think she can hear me. But so for week 1, it's like for the Enviro Club, for the environmental club. And she's really into. She's a biology teacher, so she's really into animals. And so in week 1, it's a travel trip. So we just got back last week. We went to Florida to see manatees. I didn't know what a manatee was before last week. And so for week 1, we learned about manatees. We saw like 4 documentaries. We went to the Baltimore Aquarium, and then my piece is like I do the film piece. So like on Thursday, 2 Thursdays ago, we went to the National Zoo, and then 2 Fridays ago, we made right. So that was they made a mini documentary. Okay, and then so that was week 1. So learning about manatees.
Matthew, can we stop you for a second? You kind of cut out for a bit, and we don't know where you went in week 3 or 2.
Okay, so week 1, we learn about manatees, and we learn how to make documentaries.
Yeah.
Week 2, we went to Florida, and we saw manatees, and we filmed them. And then this week is week 3. We're just putting together the documentaries, and they make a little travel journal, and they all make their own travel journal, and then the last thing we do is we make like a little public service announcement about manatees. I was going to like link, if I can find the link to some of the documentaries, I'll put them in, but I'm not sure I'm there yet. But anyway, that was really awesome. That's like the best thing I've done all year. We've done all year, and it's the 3rd year we've done it, and we're sort of refining it and fine-tuning it, and it's pretty cool.
That's very cool.
Awesome. And I'll just share one of my favorite activities that I do actually has nothing to do with teaching, but it's involving with my school and my students. So each week, so we do, I work in an alternate program, so students that are typically at risk for a variety of reasons, and a number of them on independent living. So what we do is once a week, we all take turns as staff members cooking hot meals, and we break bread with them. So it's just kind of more of a building a community. They help us prepare the food. They help serve each other. They all take responsibilities and kind of step up and do the dishes, whatever else it may be, and then make sure we all sit together in one small room, all crammed elbow to elbow, eating off of plates with forks and knives. So it's a full cooked meal that we all get to get. And it's just kind of more of a building the community and building the trust that we get to have with students that don't really get that anywhere else in their life at all. So that's kind of one of my favorite activities, even though it's not, teaching related.
Do you do it during the school day or after?
We do it during the school day. The school day, every Wednesday lunch. So we'll have an alternate schedule. And what it is we wind up starting our classes a little bit later on Wednesday afternoons and ending a little earlier on Wednesday mornings, so we can all sit down to lunch together.
That's awesome. We have community lunch every Friday, but we don't prepare it. I think the preparing is probably essential.
The preparing is essential. That, or we bring the ingredients. There's certain kids that really like to do the cooking. So we bring all the ingredients and we kind of walk them through the learning how to cook part.
That's great.
Yeah. With the first round kind of done, I had a question for you, Michelle, about Beowulf, because you started us off.
Uh-huh.
The Warrior Dash, and I'm going to kind of, I'm just curious, because I'm more along the lines thinking that the students would want to ask you almost every single detail about the Warrior Dash. So how much time is spent kind of on leading up to that?
I think usually at the beginning of the school year, that's kind of my introduce myself and let them know that I'm a warrior woman, and so they already know that. And I spend so much time bragging about my accomplishments in the Warrior Dash, you know, so they kind of know that. But so yeah, I think not too much time in class time because I've already hit that horse dead a long time before that.
Nice.
Matthew, I was wondering how you get kids to make good quality film, because a lot of times we have kids make film, you know, that's like a big project that a lot of people adopt, and I teach with somebody who's a real film guy, and it drives him insane because he says, you know, there's so many crappy student films, and if we're going to have them make films, we should have them make good films. So what resources or what do you do to make them not stink?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. You know what's a good starting point is like fiction's hard. I think writing something out of nothing is real. I really struggle with that. So I don't know if I'd go down that road, like narrative filmmaking. I think that's really hard. So one nice thing about like documentaries is it's like for example these travel journals we just did, like the script's written. I don't know how you would apply that in a classroom. Or actually, that's kind of too hard. Maybe like, you know what's a good movie is just a straight retelling. Like a straight, like read something. Like this is like the easiest reading movie to make. Just it's a book report, right? You take the book report and you just take it one step further, and then you act out a little. You can either do it like you can actually act it out. That's actually harder, I think. Or just tell people what happened in the story. And that's one super simple. Basically, any movie where the script's already written and that's short. That's a pretty good starting point.
We used to do a This American Life project, you know, where we had kids interview. They kind of had to come up with their own theme, and then they would interview. We specified you had to have like one person who's nothing like you, one person from in the school community who you don't know, one person could be whatever, freebie. And then they would turn them into a film. And we actually said they didn't have to be a film. They could be a podcast or they could be a movie. And I think that actually works well because it isn't all just you, but it's also about teaching them, like, what, you know, not to just set their computer up and film it like this.
Yeah.
Because that's what we would get sometimes, you know. And it takes a lot of time to teach kids to make quality film, quality anything. And I just think a lot of times we don't. Yeah.
Another good starting movie is, you reminded me of it when you said interview. One of the best things we do is that we do a World War II oral history. Any oral history, pick anything, any unit, like with the 60s, space program, anything, and then just all they have to do is write 20 questions. Ask somebody those 20 questions. Get 5 minutes of footage, and then you know what filmmaking is editing it down, making that interesting. And cutting that down. That's, again, the film's made. So that's oral histories and interviews. That's another great way to go.
Awesome.
Now, Matthew, this sounds like it's more of an emphasis along the documentary and actually producing and teaching about what you're learning. Do you teach them how to use any graphics or add any sort of slides or audio over and voiceovers in that as well? Or is it just a strict kind of I'm talking and I'm on screen and I'm teaching you about the manatees or whatever else you're teaching them and they're learning in the Enviro Club?
Sure. I don't know. I think for filmmaking, like, simplicity is everything. And my new favorite thing is like iMovie on an iPad. I mean, it's only $5. It's super simple. So and so to answer your question, as simple as possible. iMovie on a computer is pretty hard. I don't know Windows Movie Maker very well. I don't know if there was any Android editing things. Final Cut's really hard. So
one of the things that I use something similar to that, Matthew. I have my students do a public service announcement on a controversial topic, whether it's whether or not to vaccinate or, you know, whatever the topic is that they choose, whether you should chew tobacco or smoke cigarettes. I actually had kids do a public service announcement over that. And I use Photo Story 3, where you put video or images on and then they do a voiceover. Really easy thing. And then I also had kids do infographics. And I can't remember where I had them get the infographic from, but then they had to do like a poster online of it. But you're right, keep it simple. And Photo Story 3, that's a free download through Microsoft, is super easy.
Cool. Do you guys find that I find that the kids can really learn those things, that they get pretty good at. I mean, we always did the thing, a lot of the kids used iMovie, and they master it a lot more easily than I do. I don't know. I think it's the first time we assigned this project, the guy I was teaching with was like, how are we ever going to teach? I was like, we're not going to teach them. We're going to tell them they can record it on a cassette tape if they want to record it on a cassette tape, or they can use whatever they want, and they just taught themselves. I wasn't able to teach them.
I think learning through doing is one of the best types of learning you can possibly do.
Yeah.
And I mean, really, Matthew, the other one that I would suggest is, although it's kind of more of a screencast, I would look at having students use Explain Everything. It's nice and simple and straightforward and easy to do, and you can add on a whole bunch of different sort of things as well on that. I know my students like using that one when they're doing documentaries or teaching us lessons about the various topics they get on science.
Do any of you use Thing Link?
I do in my science class, and I like it in my science class. What I do, I've particularly on my biomes unit for Science 10, so where they're learning about all the different areas of the world, I have thing links on it for them, so it's easier for them to digest the material that way if I narrow it down for them, instead of them being overwhelmed with having the whole World Wide Web to search from.
Nice. That's a great way to use that, actually.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is.
Do any of you have any other activities that you like sharing, or that you want to share that you feel that we need to know about that would be a great opportunity for someone else to learn out there?
Especially I think for Michelle, have you ever used Prism?
No.
It's a really cool.
I'll do another one. I'll do it. Oops, go ahead.
Oh, let's let Laura here finish her question for Michelle, and then I'll get you in, Matthew.
Yep.
So Prism is like an online collaborative text markup tool, and so what you do is you can put a text in, or you can have a kid put a text in, and then they all go online and they mark it up to an attribute. So when I'm teaching them rhetorical devices, we use Frederick Douglass, and I give them like chiasmus, I don't know, a few others that hyperbole, maybe things that he uses, and then they like color code highlight them, and then as different kids highlight it, it gets bigger, makes kind of a word cloud, and also you can see like what kids think everything is. You can do it thematically, you can do it a bunch of different things, a bunch of different ways, and it's a really cool project. It was the Digital Humanities Center at UVA came up with it, but it's something I'm presenting on at ERB, and the kids really like it, and they can also come up with one themselves and then share it, and so they can choose a text and they can choose the attributes, and then their friends can use it. It's a good way for them to review. It's also just a great way to teach close reading, and
Absolutely.
I know that's a big thing with Common Core, so I'll share the link to that.
Awesome. Very cool.
Awesome. Matthew, what were you wanting to share? What activity are you wanting to talk about?
Okay, so anyway, my internet's garbage, so just anytime, just wave or something if something bad happens. So I should share those on Twitter. Actually, I'll put my little YouTube channel on there. So like always, this top link that I shared. Here's a super easy, again, like super creative, super easy. Sort of, and I'm biased towards film stuff, but I'm totally interested in the other things that is being presented tonight. But the top one is, if you've ever seen a Draw My Life on YouTube, where these YouTubers who are all really messed up, by the way. Like if you're gonna do YouTube 24/7, like these people are just whack. But anyway, they draw their life. They do it. You know, have you seen those whiteboards with the little the whiteboard marker. They will
Oh
draw.
yeah.
They're
Video
awesome.
Scribe
What's that?
video.
Yeah.
Scribe video?
Yeah, all that.
Yeah.
It's just, and the kids could. There's another super easy. They could draw their life, like do a little biography. That's hard. Like take your whole life and put it down into 2 minutes and draw it out in real time.
Oh, you're gone.
Sorry.
You know, though, I love, Matthew, that you're bringing in all these videos because I think that it's stuff like that that keeps kids interested. So that's great that you're bringing that all in.
It's definitely keeping them engaged. I know my students much prefer being hands-on and not listening to me talk. They like learning themselves more so than me telling them something.
Absolutely.
Am I back? I don't know if I'm back yet.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're back. Sorry, Matthew.
I'll do one last one and then I'll shush about video. So that my second link there is, well, everybody's talking about stop motion. Somebody was talking about stop motion. I don't remember. So anyway, somebody was talking about it, and it's the best. You know what I do is I take an iPad or any tablet, a phone, anything, and you tape it, like duct tape it to a chair and point it at the ground, and then just put stuff on anything, Lego, like anything on the ground, and then stop motion is the easiest. It doesn't get easier than stop. And there's the free one, the big one on the iPad. Stop motion. It's just called stop motion, as a matter of fact. And I just posted another one. We did the heart cycle. Like it doesn't matter what you do anything. We did ventricle, atrium, and all that stuff. So man, whiteboard movies. And it looks good. I like stuff that looks good and that's easy. Those whiteboard movies, they look good. They're sharp. They're fun. They're fun to watch. It's hard to make a movie that's fun to watch, but those whiteboard movies are sweet. Those stop motion, I don't know what it is about stop motion, but there's something like you're not staring at a talking head. You're staring at like something moving. So I don't know what it is about stop motion, but people love it. And so anyway, so throwing that out there.
Very cool.
Matthew, I love your enthusiasm.
Thank you. It's very kind.
Matthew, do you have a Twitter handle?
I do. I'll put that there. There.
I was just gonna tweet out. So perfect. Thank you.
I wonder if I can see that in my, because remember I'm on the iPad, so I can't see any of the chat.
How's it, Jill? How is it working out on an iPad? This whole chat thing, this whole Google chat.
The chat thing's going great, but I can't see any of your links or anything like that, so I'm bummed.
Well, the good thing about the on air is it's going to be saved live, and you'll be able to get it no matter what from the edcampHOME website the whole time.
Are you watching it through a browser or through an app on your iPad?
I'm doing it through the Hangout app.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we're kind of running out a little bit out of time. What I'm going to do, I'm going to share one more kind of thing, and then I'll throw it back to you guys. So the other one that I really like to do, I'm PE based as well, right? Did I mention that?
No.
Oh, I also teach PE. So what I do is we have a small alternate program with about 100, maybe 120 kids at the absolute max. And each year what we do is we have our PE class. I've also done this in a regular high school when I was teaching there. But I would just do it for a grade level. But right now, what I do is the PE class, they are in charge of a sports day. So even the older kids, 16 to 18, apparently love sports day. So what they do is the PE class goes through and arranges an entire sports day, everything from the games, competitions, prizes, food, anything and everything that you could possibly think that you would need. And then they go out and they host it and they share it, and the entire program comes. It's one of the absolute favorite activities that all of our students have, and they love the fact that it's run by their peers, and that the students that are running it start to get such a sense of accomplishment. They're able to actually plan something, and that they're given the opportunity to do something and plan something. And as staff, we just sit back and watch and laugh and have fun with them.
Very cool. Great community building.
It's a lot about community building in alternate ed. Laura or Michelle, do you guys have any other activities that you want to share before we wrap up this session?
I mean, we use a lot of Harkness discussions. I don't know. That's something that they use at, I think it's Andover. And it works. They use it in every class, humanities, STEM, whatever. And we've done a lot of that, and that's been incredibly successful for us. We are very much a discussion-driven school. So that's something that I think applies across the disciplines.
Cool. Michelle, do you have anything you want to add in?
Sure,
last
just
activity?
one thing that I do that not necessarily an activity that I allow kids to do retakes, rewrites on anything throughout any time in the trimester, and I have so many kids comment on how much they love the ability to be able to make things better and not just turn something in and say I'm done with it, or you know, covering parts of speech and then later on going, oh my gosh, now I understand what a direct object is, and I'm like, oh, sorry, I took the quiz and you refilled it. I let them all throughout the trimester say, hey, you know what, I kind of get it now, can I retake that? And I usually have at least 2 or 3 versions for everything, and kids really are very receptive to that.
Awesome. You know what I like about that is the fact that it involves lots of reflection pieces to it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of forcing them to rethink and to continue thinking, knowing that it's not just going to stop. My learning doesn't stop at the end of class.
Right.
I get to take it home as well.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you very much,
Yeah.
you guys. I know it's time for us to wrap up, so I want to do a shout out. Thank you, Laura, Matthew, and Michelle for us here at EdcampHOME 3.0 with the Share Fair.
Thank you.
Dallas.
You did an awesome job.
Dallas? Your thing's kind of cool. Dallas?
It's Dallas. It's just spelled a little differently. I was named after my mom's
Lovely.
favorite niece. Have a good night, you guys. We'll see you
night.
later.
Well,
Bye. Thank you.